Welcome to today's lesson. Today we shall be looking at too small to be seen. Right? What is too small to be seen? Particles. Say particles. Particles of matters are too small to be seen. Alright? Have you ever read a mystery? No. Mysteries are stories with problems to solve. How do we solve a mystery? We always look for clues, is it not? We look for clues in the story and all that. And then we're able to define what the story is it not? So also to solve a problem in science, we also look for what we call clue. On the other hand, this clue we call them evidence. Alright? We call them evidence. In science, we don't just accept whatever is said. You must have an evidence. I've told you before. If you bring a theory or a discovery, we'll leave it like that. We'll not accept it until you prove it with experiment, which we call evidence. Okay? Once the evidence now backs up what you are saying, we now accept it that okay, somebody has brought a discovery. Okay, to solve a problem in science, we look for clues. We call those clues evidence. Evidence is information that supports our answers to scientific questions. Most of the time, you can answer scientific questions using evidence from observing something. Okay, you can use the evidence you observe either directly as your answer or indirectly with other support to get your answer. Okay, for example, what if you observe that there is water on a cobweb but it hasn't rained? Where did the water come from? Look at what I'm saying now. By taking a close look at matter, you can probably figure out the mystery, is it not? Rain did not fall, but yeah, there's water in the cobweb in the morning, and make a claim about where this water came from, is it not? I want you to put it on the note. Where did you think the water came from? Okay, where did the water came from? Put it on the note for me. Big question. How do models help to explain that matter is made up of small particles? How do models help to? What is model self? Sometimes in science, something is too big or too small for us to be able to see. For example, we cannot see Earth all at once because it is too big, is it not? Yes. But we use model, alright? We use model such as a globe and maps to represent our enormous planet. Similarly, we cannot see air or the particles that we breathe in. These particles are too small for our eyes to detect, but we can find evidence that air is all around us. A model is a picture, a symbol, or a physical example that helps explain something that we cannot directly observe. Okay, for example, I want to build a house. I don't just go and build a house. I have to get a model of a house, how the house want to look like, maybe a picture or a computer design. Okay, the parlor, the room, and everything. That is not the real house, but that explains everything that I want to do. So that is the model of the house, meaning it is the same thing as a house, but the difference is that it is not the real house. Okay, particles in tiny pieces of matter that are too small to be seen. That is particles. When you talk of particles, they are those small, tiny pieces of matter that we cannot see. For example, air is made up of small particles. Air is made up of small particles. Consider this scientific claim. This is a scientific claim. We say air is made up of small particles in science. If matter is made up of particles too small to be seen, then we should be able to find evidence to support that idea. Which idea? Air is matter, so air has mass and take up space. But how can we use a model to support this idea with evidence? What evidence might you use to prove that air you breathe in takes up space? You can see already, is it not? Let's generate some supporting evidence. Using a balloon, when you blow air, a combination of gases, of course, is air, into a balloon, the balloon expands and its shape changes, is it not? Does this evidence support the claim that matter is made up of particles too small to be seen? To you now, does it support it? We cannot see the air, but we discover that the air which of course is matter, take up space and then has mass. Is this evidence that air is made up of matter? If air didn't have mass or take up space, then the balloon would not have expanded. True or false? If air is matter and made up of small particles, as we have claimed, then the fact that the balloon expands makes sense. Perhaps the idea that matter is made up of small particles is correct. True or false? True is correct, is it not? Can you find out what kinds of gases are in the balloon? Yes. We know that when we blow in air, we are blowing in both oxygen, both carbon dioxide, and then maybe a little air from the environment will also combine, giving you nitrogen, is it not? And other small gases like your neon, your argon, and all that. Okay? What is the difference between the two balloons? What evidence supports the claim that air take up space? Can you see? This one now has little amount of air, therefore it has little particles, and therefore take little space. Remember, I will say the more the mass, the more the matter. Is it not? Yes. On the other hand, this one has more particles of air because it has more quantity of air. Therefore, it takes up more space and has more particles. Water is made up of small particles. This is another claim again. Do you agree that water is made up of small particles? No. I have to prove it to you. How? Condensation. Condensation is a very good evidence to prove to you that water is made up of small particles. Is it not? For example, the particles in the water in the cobweb. The water in the cobweb, we don't know how it ended there. Is it not? Of course, you know. There are particles of water in air that are settled on the cobweb. Is it not? Place your hand in front of your mouth and breathe out. Does your breath feel dry or wet? Now imagine breathing on a cold window in winter or a cold glass. What would you expect to see? Of course, you see little drops of what? Water to be formed in the surface of the glass. This observation can be used as evidence that supports our claim. The particles of water found in the air are known as water vapor. Water vapor is in the air even when we cannot see it. Of course, you know that already. That from water cycle, water rises and rises. You know, the vapor rises and rises and gets cooler and cooler. Remember, yes, you see them. No, you don't. Water is made up of small particles. You can't always see water when you breathe out. But condensation on a window is evidence that there are particles of water in the air. Even if its particles are too small to be seen, the water vapor is there. It's true. Now, another evidence that supports it is dissolving matter in water. Okay? Dissolving matter in water supports the evidence. Imagine you have sugar, water, and then you have a lemonade. You start by adding sugar to the water. When you add it, the sugar seems to what? Disappear. Did it go away? No. What happened? It dissolved. Why? Because sugar is soluble in water. Is it not? Yes. When one type of matter dissolves into another type of matter, such as sugar or lemon juice, in water, the matter separates. Okay, it will separate and then it will spread out. Are you getting it now? It will separate and spread out, and then it will spread out in such a way that you will not see it again. Know that the particles are now too small. The particles are broken down into smaller pieces that you cannot see it again. Okay? Of course, you know 3 types of matter are present right now, is it not? But you only see 1. 2 of them. How might you prove to someone that the visible liquid contains more than just water? Think about the different properties of that water, lemon juice, and sugar each have. I've taught you properties of matter already, is it not? You already know that water does not have odor. It does not have what? Taste. So the presence of a taste or a sugary taste implies that sugar is present, is it not? You know water is odorless. True or false? So sugar doesn't have an odor too. the odor of the lemon implies that is, we call it flavor actually. The flavor of the lemon implies that lemon is present. So you can use this practice to prove the evidence that sugar and lemon juice are present in the lemonade. Alright? Water dissolves other matter. Of course, you know that already. Water is called a universal solvent. Say universal solvent. Say it again, universal solvent. The reason why it is called universal solvent is because, remember I taught you solute, solvent, and solution. Is it not? I said the solute is a solid that dissolves in the solvent. I said the solvent is a liquid that dissolves the solute. Is it not? And I said the solution is formed when a solute dissolves in a solvent. Do you get it now? Now we are talking about water dissolve other matter. I told you right now that water is a universal solvent. Why do we call it universal solvent? Because water has the ability to dissolve so many solutes. It can dissolve so many solutes. Water dissolves sugar, it dissolves salt, it dissolves milk, it dissolves so many solid dissolves in water. That's why we call it a universal solvent. Okay. A model could be used to help us support our explanation as well. Remember that scientific models can be pictures, symbols, or anything that helps to represent something that we may not directly observe for ourselves. Water is one of the best substances at dissolving other substances. Salt and sugar dissolve in water, but water isn't alone. We don't only see water as a universal solvent, we also see other universal solvents, one of which is acetic acid. Okay, we call it vinegar. Another name for it is ethanoic acid. Say ethanoic acid. Say it again. So another universal solvent is ethanol. It is also a universal solvent because it dissolves a lot of things. Temperature will affect how matter dissolve. Remember, we say temperature is how hot or cold something is. Remember when we were carrying out an experiment on solution, we wanted to prepare crystal. You observe that when the water was hot, the salt dissolved more quickly than when the water was cold. Is it not? That is a very good example to tell you that temperature will always affect how matter dissolve. So the more the temperature, the quicker the solid will dissolve. While the lesser the temperature, the slower the solute will what? Dissolve. Okay? Consider an example. Matter is placed into a beaker of water. For example, this could be a sugar cube placed in water. Large crystals of sugar can be seen easily in the water. If you look at them under a magnifying glass, you can see that there are many particles inside. You can now add some heat, stir the water or both to speed up the dissolving. Both actions will help the particles become smaller and spread out. That is, it will dissolve because of that. The matter in the beaker starts to separate into smaller particles as the crystal begins to dissolve. You might be able to see the small particles of matter as the water won't be as clear as it was at the start. True or false? True. Example is your milk, is it not? The smaller particles in the beaker continue to break apart into even smaller pieces as they dissolve into the water. The particles get small enough that they can move between the particles of water, and eventually the particles will become too small to be seen. Let's look at evaporation. Evaporation provides more evidence. You already know what evaporation is. All of you know what evaporation is it not? When something changes from solid to gas, is it not? Wrong. When something changes from what? Liquid to gas. Correct. I know you are correct. Now let's think about a different kind of matter that dissolves in water. Salt. How would you draw a model of salt water? Is it possible that salt water is made of small particles of salt between small particles of water? You can't see the salt that is dissolved in the water. Look at this. If you could separate the water from the sample, then salt should be left behind. True. Yes, this is true. We did it, is it not? We did it in primary 4. This sounds like an investigation. If you place a shallow pool of salt water in a warm sun, the liquid will begin to do what? evaporate and eventually turns into water vapor. If all the water become water vapor, what remains? All the small particles of salt that were once dissolved in the water are now what? Visible as a crust of what? Whitish crystal, which is see here. Remember I told you about the solution of brine, which is a sea salt, is it not? And water. So this is the salt that is left when the water is evaporated. Okay? How matter changes. Have you ever thought about where beach sand comes from? Sand is made of tiny particles of rocks and shells. They are broken down by water, wind, and ice. It can take thousands or even millions of years until the particles are small enough to become sand. The process we call weathering. Alright, you'll learn more as you go further. When objects break apart to become sand, no new matter is formed. The materials break into small pieces, but they are still the same. True or false? True. The rocks and the shells have gone through a physical change to create the beautiful beach sand. A physical change is a change that occurs when matter changes form, but no new type of matter is formed. Alright? A physical change is a change that occurs when matter changes form. It can change from shape, it can change size, which is the form we're talking about, but no new type of matter is formed. Okay, it can change shape, it can change size, but no new type of matter is formed. Take for example, I told you when we squeeze a bread, is it not? It doesn't change it from bread, it is still bread, but the volume has been reduced, is it not? The mass does not change. Alright? Does the amount of matter change during the physical change? No. The amount of matter, which of course is the mass, is it not? To say matter is the total quantity, mass is the total quantity of matter, is it not? Yes. So they're asking you now, does the amount of matter, which means does the mass change during a physical change? No. No matter how tiny grains of sand are, they still have the same properties of the materials they came from, because that materials were broken apart. If we join them together, we'll still get the same thing, okay? Changing state is one kind of physical change. Three common states of matter are solid, liquid, and gases. People use water in all three states. Yes. When water changes from one phase to another, the amount of water stays the same, but the amount of space the matter is occupying changes. So the volume can change, which of course is the size. The shape can change, but the mass, which is the quantity of matter, remains the same. That is why we say it's a physical change. As water changes from one state to another, its density changes. That brings us to another thing. What is density? Density is the measure of the amount of water in a certain amount of space. When we talk of space, we are talking about volume. The reason why water have different density is not because the mass is changing. It's because the volume is what? Changing. Is it not? A glass of water will be the same when I freeze it. Will it occupy the same space when I freeze it? No, of course. It will not. Now look at the different density of water. When it is liquid, it is 1.0000 gram per millimeter. You know what millimeter is already. 1 liter, is it not? Make 1000 milliliter, is it not? Yes, I think I still remember that one. So we have 0.915. You can see the density of water when it is ice, it has reduced, is it not? And then the density of what is it called? Water vapor, when it is gas, it has what? Reduced. Why is it reducing? Because the volume is increasing. Do you understand? Not because the mass is reducing. Because the volume is reducing. It's increasing, sorry. Now, the volume a glass of water will occupy will be more smaller than the volume ice will occupy, is it not? That's why when you put water in a, what is it called? Have you seen ice block in polythene bag before? Yes, you've seen it. When it is water, you see the cellophane, there is this space in the polythene, is it not? But once it is frozen, what happens? It will expand, right? the volume has what? Expanded, is it not? The same thing with gas. If you even open gas, it will occupy all the space that is available. True or false? True. So the volume is increasing. That is why the density is what? Is reducing. Do you get it now? A millimeter is a measurement of volume, an amount of space that matter filled up, is it not? So we know millimeter is or what you call capacity, is it not? Capacity is measured what? In liter, is it not? And then the smallest unit for the liter is the milliliter, is it not? Yes. Why gram? You already know gram or kilogram is measured in mass, is it not? So much matter is in a given sample. Look at what I'm saying. Do you see the gas occupying almost the whole of the cup? Can you see it? But look at the liquid. You can see the little volume is occupying. And see the solid, it has what? Increased. Do you see what I'm saying now? That is why the density what? Is reducing. Alright? So I think this gives you a better understanding. We may conclude that the particles of solid are tightly packed. Solid are rigid and their particles do not move around each other, is it not? Examples of solid, we can say ice, rock, and whatever are solid. On the other hand, we know that liquid, they flow and they take the shape of the container, is it not? And they are in what? Because they are liquid, they flow. We suspect that the particles can move around each other. Water, milk, oil are all examples of what? Liquid. On the other hand, we know that gas expands to fill their container. Okay, not? Outside of a container, gas particles float apart and separate out in the air, is it not? Particles of matter move more and spread apart as more heat energy is applied to the matter. So the more heat, the more faster the matter will move. Okay? The more the heat, the more faster the matter will move. Now we know water changes phase around us every day, but it remains water. Water does not become a different type of matter. When it melts in your glass or condenses on grass in your schoolyard, and when water changes physically, the total amount of water before and after the change remains the same. The mass does not change, is it not? It remains the same. Change in state support the scientific model that says that matter is made up of small particles. Do you not agree? From all the evidence we said, the evidence that we have looked at now, do you not agree that change in state support the scientific model that says that matter is made up of small particles? This particle model is based on evidence we see around us every day, such as when the rain or snow falls to the ground and then when it disappears because of what? Heat from the sun, is it not? Matter is conserved during a physical change. When I say matter is conserved during a physical change, I mean it does not change. It does not increase or reduce. Okay, it remains the same. All right. The weight of matter you start and end with is the same, no matter its gain or loss during a physical change. How do we prove this? We can prove this using what we call metal casting. Metal casting can be shaped through a process called casting. In metal casting, the metal is heated to a very high temperature until it will melt into liquid. Alright? When it now melts into a liquid, we now pour it into a mold. A mold is the shape object we want to produce. Let's say we want to produce a cap. We make a cap with a mold. Alright? Mold we use sand. Alright? We have different kind of sand we use for it. We'll now pour that metal into the cast, which is called the mold, and then we allow it to cool. After it has cooled, we'll now break the sand. You know it's a sand. We'll now break it, leaving only the metal. The metal will now solidify and give us that shape. If we measure the liquid we used to start, maybe it was 10 grams, and we use all of them to make the cap. At the end of the day, we will measure the cap. The cap will also give us 10 grams. That is what we mean by mass. Matter is conserved during physical change. Remember, we say matter is conserved during a physical change. Another evidence in reality is crushing your can, or even crushing bread or pressing your bread, like I taught you in the first one. Metal can be shaped through a process called casting. You already know already. Metal is heated until it melts to a liquid state. Different type of metal must be heated to different temperatures before they become liquid. The molten metal is then poured into a hollow mold or cast. After the cast cools, the metal has a new shape. Jewelry, tools, and sculptures are made with this process. Do you recycle aluminum cans? Do you recycle it at your home? Do you keep it? Do you keep it and sell it later? Imagine you had a problem. You have more empty cans than you can fit in your recycling bin. How might you fit more cans into the space that you have? Simple. What do? Can you see it? You crush it. Say crush it. You crush it. When you crush it, it will not change the mass, but it will reduce the space, and you add more and more and more to it. Do you get it now? And you can also see the metal casting there. Can you see it? They are pouring it into the mold now, and this is the shape they are coming out with. Alright? So I want you to still watch this video and have more understanding on what a physical change is. Okay?
So let's begin. What is physical change? A physical change is any change in the size, shape, or state of matter. If a glass dropped to the floor and broke, we would have changed the size and the shape of the glass. If we were to fold a piece of paper into an origami, we would change the size and the shape of the paper. If we place an ice cube into our drink, we would change the state of the ice cube from a solid to a liquid. Let's look at some other examples of physical changes. Is a crushed can an example of the change in the size, shape, or state of this matter? If you said shape, you are correct. What about chopped wood? Did the size, shape, or state of the wood change? If you said size and shape, you are quite right. How about cut fabric? Did we change the size, shape, or state of the fabric? If you said size and shape, you are correct. How about a melted ice cream cone? Did we change the size, shape, or state of the ice cream? If you said state, you are correct. Our ice cream changed from a solid state to a liquid state. What about a pot of boiling water? Did the size, shape, or state of the water change? If you said state, you are right again. The water is changing from a liquid state to a gas state. What about a tray of ice? When we placed the tray in the freezer, it was a liquid form. What changed? Did the size, state, or shape change? Right again, the state changed from liquid to solid.
Welcome back. We now know that evidence is information that supports our answer to scientific question, and we also know that air is made up of small particles. We also know that water dissolves other matter, and therefore we call it what? A universal solvent. Say universal solvent. Universal solvent. We also know that beside water, ethanoic acid and ethanol are also universal solvent, okay? Which is a vinegar, alright? And we also know that a physical change is caused when matter changes shape, but nothing new is formed. Is it not? A physical change, nothing new is formed. And we also know that changing the state is one kind of physical change. Is it not? Just like as water changes state is a physical change. Is it not? And we also know that matter is conserved. That is, the total matter we have at the beginning will be the same at the ending because it's a physical change. And then we use density and casting as an evidence to support our claim. Is it not? Yes, that now brings us to the end of the lesson. I want you to complete all your assignment and remember to stay safe.